Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Cat and Mark Show. So today we've actually got a very exciting guest on. So we actually have one of my clients on. He's one of my regular clients. We'll just refer to him as Mr. X. So Mr. X today is going to talk to you all about what it's like actually being a purchaser of sex services, because I know on this show we talk a lot about it from my point of view, the girl's point of view, and a lot of the time, like when you're hearing about it, it's usually from the girl's point of view, but not so much from a client's or purchaser's point of view. So today we're going to be, I guess, dispelling a few of the probably rumors or beliefs people might have about the kind of people that maybe buy sex, and kind of get a little bit of a deep dive into, why people pay for sex and all of those things. So yeah, thank you, Mr. X, for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we'll start a little bit about yourself, just so that all of our listeners can probably get a little bit of a background into the type of person that you are. It's probably especially important because I feel like a lot of people probably have a misconception about the kind of person that would be a client, that I know a lot of people even say to me like, oh, it's probably just like, really old, gross, scary, sketchy people, but you are none of those things. You are just a normal person with a normal job that does normal people things. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself so people can get a bit of insight into the kind of person that you are.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kat and Mark, anyway, for inviting me onto the podcast. Really, really a big fan of your podcast as well. So I'm in my early 30s. I've been living in Sydney for about 8 years now in the financial services industry. Not a super high income. I'm probably about in just above probably middle range. Not quite sure what middle range is. Probably about 150, maybe to 200. So definitely not like a millionaire. I live a kind of a modest lifestyle. I like to go out to restaurants. I like to kind of go traveling. And I love sex as well. So that's definitely something that we both have in common.
Awesome. Yeah. So as everyone can hear, he's just a normal guy. And as one of my regulars, I can confirm that he's a normal person, not sketchy at all. So, okay, probably let's start from the beginning. When did you actually first become a client or a purchaser? And probably what made this decision come about?
Yeah. I think it probably go back to my early sort of 20s, where I kind of started off, going to strip clubs, getting your fake ID. My brother looks exactly like me and he was 18 at the time. So when I went into the strip club joints, you kind of got a taste of what to expect in that adult industry. And when you're kind of underage at the time, you're like, oh, this is exciting. And then after a while doing that, I haven't really been one to be, in a relationship most of my life. I've always sort of been single. And so when you're getting that taste of it, you want to feel like, actually, what's it like to have sex? What's it like to kind of, I've already had a lap dance. What's it like going to the next level? And the strip club that we used to go to in Auckland back in New Zealand, there used to be, quite a decent brothel next to it. And I'm like, whoa, haven't been up there before. And this one day I was just really, really curious as to how it go. I've had normal sex before unpaid, but it's kind of like the allure, the mystique about it. And so I just kind of went in. It was really awkward. It was an old madam coming. She must have been about 65 years old. And she goes, all right, this is the prices. And then, yeah, it was just basically out of curiosity, to be honest. It wasn't really kind of like, I really wanted to. It's just basically what it was like. And then all of a sudden it was addictive. It's kind of like a drug, sex is addictive. It doesn't matter how you get it. You just have to go get it.
Why was it addictive, particularly? Like, was it because it was an escort? Is that what made it addictive? Is it because it was better than...
Yeah, I think it's the ease. I think it's the ease of getting like sex as well, because again, like I'm not a shy guy, but I've always had a problem doing the old-fashioned way, picking up, women and actually having sex for free. And so it's the fact that it was at your fingertips. You know where to look. There's always websites out there that you can kind of go on and actually choose who you want to, and you know that you pay for a service and you'll get something back. But it's just really the ease of it. Like anybody can go. It can be all walks of life. Doesn't matter if you can be a billionaire. Doesn't matter if you're like a low income earner. The escort provider, it's their job to make you feel kind of warm. And I think it's obviously between us. It's kind of like, that's why it's kind of like I come back to you repetitively, because again, it's ease of service to book, but then also as well, because it's not my really first time, but it was the first time seeing you made me feel comfortable. And that was at the same time, because I felt comfortable doing that, I kept on wanting to do it because it was just easy.
Cool. And
yeah, great. Mark, I think you had a question, didn't you?
I'm super curious. Like, so you just obviously rocked up to the brothel the first time. After that, how did you go about, I guess, selecting who you would choose or who you would sleep with? Was it just going back to that same brothel? When did you start looking online? Like, I'm curious how you actually choose the girl, essentially.
Of course. So it was a wee while ago since the first time, but I can kind of like transguess what I sort of do now, because I've had a lot of friends in the industry at the moment, and obviously working with escorts myself, and just being the line of work I'm at the moment, I kind of know where to look. So either if it's Scarlet Blue, or if it's Escort and Babes, or if it's on, the world of social media now, it's like link in bio, and usually they will have say, hey, book me. So they might have a personal site. I just, in the age of porn, like, a lot of people, view OnlyFans and Pornhub. I'm like, I want to get that person, I want to relive that porn scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you want to kind of surf the internet and see what can I find that matches that person or that porn star's experience. And so, or that personality, you might find like I have a bit of an Asian fetish as well. No disrespect for you, Katija. But I have like a specific,
Mm-hmm.
I have a specific sort of criterion. So usually if I want to kind of pick someone, I'll normally go pick someone that I've seen on a porn video or OnlyFans or Instagram, just so I can kind of picture that person and see what they'll be like.
That's cool.
That's interesting. So a lot of people actually do find people from the socials and not on the ad sites. Like I have a few people sometimes telling me that they found me on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or on Twitter or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's so random that like people are finding people in these places. So you do actually use social media as well.
Well, I because I sort of know so much about the industry now, I'll find it, if it's going to be on an ad, if it's going to be on a podcast, I surf, I kind of know where to look now. And so, yeah, but mostly it's Scarlet Blue these days, because it's one of the most used or talked about, independent escort sites, and then going to hearing about the adult awards, which I know that you guys did such a great job about, and congratulations for your podcast award. But it's just kind of being in the industry, being close to people that are involved in the industry. You kind of know where to look now after when you kind of been using the services. And so yeah, it's kind of like, it's just something you open your phone and you just kind of surf the internet.
Do you find that part exciting for yourself? Like actually looking for perhaps the next girl that you're going to be with, or hire, or work with? Is that, because I know for me personally, like if I was to go out to a club, or if I'm on Tinder, if I come across an attractive girl, like that part's exciting. I'm wondering for you, like searching for these girls, is that an exciting part of the process as well?
I think as well, if I saw them, obviously I wouldn't go up to, if I knew they're escort, like I know, it's etiquette not to go up to them, because, everyone has their private lives. But if I saw them on like an OnlyFans video, or, a porn video, I know there are escorts in Sydney, that's where I'm based, that are available. I'm like, oh my God, I know that person. I want to go see her. So when you go surfing like all the different options, you can like, oh my God, I recognize her. I want to kind of like experience that one. So it's definitely the allure of trying to like see people that you've already seen before. Like on the internet. It's kind of like a celebrity, but for escorts.
Nice.
And when you actually finally see them, it's kind of like, oh yeah, cool. I met that person. You know, I met my escort sort of goal. But no, it's really, really interesting, just the journey. But I think it's different. If it's the first time you've done it. I've done it plenty of times before, so it's probably the journey is a lot different than somebody that's starting out for the first time. But yeah, it doesn't matter if you're first time or, you know, the last time. It's always interesting going for a bit of a look and finding out who might be next. And
you mentioned that, okay, you might have certain fetishes. So like if you have an Asian fetish, then obviously like you can find women that like match exactly what you're after. I'm curious, are there any other fetishes or like sexual kinks that you've been able to explore through escorts that maybe you might not have been able to so easily explore in your personal life?
Yeah. Well, I think as well, you know, a lot of people are scared to kind of really hash out all your fetishes with your partner on the non-paid side. You know, you might say, oh, I want to do anal, I want to do rim jobs, I want to do this, I want to do that. And you might be scared talking about your partner, but whereas if you're going online, you can actually kind of filter different fetishes and actually say, right, these are the escorts that will provide what you're looking for. So myself, I'm a person that I'm a bit outrageous. You know, I like a bit of everything. You know, I'm not a vanilla guy. I'm you know, I always sort of not push the boundary, but like I'll always like to kind of teeter on that boundary, but being respectful at the same time. And obviously talking to our personal situation, Kat, is that I saw obviously you do like a porn star service. I'm like, this is going to be interesting. And so I know that if someone is providing a porn star experience, they'll be a bit more open-minded. So if you book that porn star experience, you know that all the bullshit of going back and forth, oh, do you provide this? Do you provide that? Escorts will provide a list for a reason. And then if there's anything that's additional, yeah, sure, ask them. But I think a lot of people these days don't really spend the time to read ads and find out exactly what they provide. But there's literally any girl out there for any different person, whether if you're gay, bi, straight, or whatever you identify with. There's somebody that will provide a service that will be related to your kink. So I've got a lot of kinks, and yeah, it just depends on if that girl provides it, which Kat does.
I do provide like a fair few kinks, don't I? Okay, so you mentioned that you might seek out certain kinks that maybe like a partner might not provide. So I'm curious, have you seen an escort whilst in a relationship? That's part one of the question. And then part two of the question is, would you consider seeing an escort to be cheating in the first place? Yeah.
So the first one, I haven't had a relationship in a while. I think that's partly the reason why I would seek out sexual services, because, you know, I just want to kind of have that girlfriend experience, porn star experience. I think if somebody was in a relationship and you are in an open relationship, I think that's okay, as long as you are wanting to explore your sexuality and bring someone in. But I would think, though, if you're going behind your partner's back to seek out a sexual fantasy, I think that will be cheating. Some people might have a different view, but I feel like you need to be open about these things, especially if you want to like do a threesome or a foursome with other different people doing swingers clubs. That's absolutely fine, because you are having that open community. I'm all about honesty. So if you're not really open with your partner about what you are wanting, so if I had a girlfriend and I really loved anal sex, or I really love, either rim jobs, and if you're not comfortable, then go and speak to your partner and say, hey, I really want to try this, I really want to try that, you know. If your partner loves you, they will listen to you, and hey, they might be open to say, right, hey, go fulfill your fantasy and then come back, and then obviously you'll still love each other. But you have to have a special kind of relationship to do that. But I think, yeah, that's a kind of a broad question, but it just really depends on if you're in an open relationship, and definitely, seek out your partner's advice of, how you like to live out that fantasy, if it's possible or not.
Cool. Yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to stop seeing escorts if you were in a relationship?
For me, like I'll still, still be involved because again, that's part of my nature as well. I think that again, it comes to addictive nature. But again, if I was in a relationship, I think I'll definitely, the limit will be a lot more down. Obviously, I'm not going to go every month or whatnot. It might be the situation where I might bring my partner to a strip club, or I might limit the content of what I might ask, or I might say, hey, let's get a girl in and pay for that person to come and enhance that experience. But it's not so much stopping, but I think the limitation will come into it. So seeing escorts smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, because I know a lot of clients that I see so like it is a bit of a debate where it's like some people are like, oh, it's not cheating because it's paid, and it's like unemotional. Sorry, Mark, I just cut you off. Keep cutting you off.
No, you're right. I was just wondering, like, how often are you seeing escorts at the moment?
I would say at a starting point once a month.
Okay.
I'm mainly more of the massage side, so like an erotic massage, because I'm so pissed off if you go to like a normal, when I say a normal massage, if you go to like a 5-star, you go to a Crown, or you go to the Sofitel, or you go into a normal massage where it's not sexual, and they kind of rub your legs up and you feel like, fuck, well, is that it? Can you finish me off? That's why I go to like an erotic massage though, because at least they do a semi-good job of your massage, and then obviously you get relief from that. So I normally do that probably once a month, or even once every 3 weeks, but mainly it's once a month. But in the sex aspect to it, it's not kind of like every month, maybe once every kind of, every second month, but it really depends on my mood, really, if I really want to have that sort of release, or it just really depends on what I feel for that current time. But normally I sort of revert back to that erotic massage.
Okay. And is this like planned in advance? Are you like, okay, next week I'm going to book in for a massage? Or is it like, okay, today I'm feeling fucking horny, right? Like I need a release.
Exactly.
I need to book this in like right now.
Yeah, I'm a person, again, I know sometimes escorts as well will love to lock in time, to say, right, hey, lock in time for your availability. But for me, because in my line of work, my schedule can change. And so sometimes I will book in depending on if it's going to be more of a longer booking. So I know if I'm going to book someone for like say 2 or 3 hours, or even if it's overnight, I'll definitely book that in. But generally speaking, probably 90% of the time, it'll be like you said, Mark, I'm fucking horny, I want to go see someone, and then I'll act on that impulse. And if it's on that given day, I'll seek out, look on who's available, and then go from there, or just venture into the local massage sort of parlor. And it's not those dingy, not the dingy one, which is the colourful lights and say massage. It's, like a reputable company that, everybody knows that it's, legit.
Okay. And
interesting.
Do you find that, I know you mentioned you haven't had a relationship for a while. How do you think seeing escorts and getting sex work affects that at all? Like, do you feel that, okay, I'm getting this relief this way, so I don't really feel like I need a relationship? Or do you feel that, like, okay, having these experiences and seeing these escorts actually gives me the confidence now to go out and like seek another relationship? Like, how do you think it affects your personal life?
Sure. I think sex-wise, it makes me feel stronger because I'm able to be a lot more open. Sometimes you can be a bit too open, but I feel as well it can affect my ability to do the old-fashioned way, because, as you all know, Kat, as well, being a service provider, you're providing euphoria. Everything is kind of fugazi. Everything is kind of like, I pay you and you give me a service that I feel that it's that you feel that I should feel like. So I think it does affect me yeah. And so like Tinder go, bang, bang, bang. It's kind of like you don't know what to expect. But I know that if I go to Kat and, pay your whatever amount of money that you'll charge, I know that, you'll give me an experience that I would respect, because I know that you are reputable, you're you're priced at that level where, you know, it is quality. But back to your question mark as well, you know, definitely over the last, you know, whatever decade that I've been, you know, seeking out these services, it does affect, because again, I know how easy to seek out these services. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a cop out, you know, rather than kind of going out to the club and actually you put your big boy's pants on and go do the old fashioned way, I can say, right, I'll call up my contact who I kind of know and actually say, hey, are you available? All right, let's go.
No, that's fair. And do you think your, on that note, do you think your sex life has improved in, like, when you have personal sex because of your experience with escorts? You said you were able to, like, explore fetishes. Like,
yeah.
I'm curious, do you ever perhaps, like, get feedback from the girls? Or obviously you're allowed to, I guess, like, practice some of these, like, kinks and things that you're exploring. So do you think that impacts your personal sex life?
I think it makes it, well, somewhat better for me, because I can kind of make things interesting. You know, if I meet someone, you know, naturally for the first time, and, you know, I have the ability to kind of maybe try out new things that I might have tried on with a professional or seen on porn sites or OnlyFans. But, you know, it's kind of like the whole, it's practice, you know, practice makes sort of perfect, really. So if you are seeking out these services and you are going with a professional that is, like, legitimate and it's top of the game, like Kat, you know, obviously very, very professional in her own right. If you keep on having sex and you keep on having a professional, obviously you are going to get better. You can ask these escorts for tips, because, hey, you know, they're professionals. You know, they're happy to tell you what makes, what makes a girl tick. So definitely there are plus sides as well. But I think it's, you know, you don't want to get into a trap where that's reality, because definitely sex work as well is not reality. It is like, you know, it is a fake kind of sense of, you know, it's euphoria. You know, for me, I'm in this area, I feel happy, you know, I paid for that service, I can kind of act out whatever I want. However, in reality, it's not like that. But I think we can take some things that I can learn from being with an escort and provide that and make it a bit more fun. But yeah, sometimes I can get feedback that I'm a bit crazy, but hey, that's all part of the fun.
You get feedback you're a bit crazy. That's awesome. Why do you think you get that feedback?
Oh, look, you know, sometimes, you know, I can be on a, you know, let's say we're having sex on a, you know, on classic bedroom or whatnot. It can be, I'm like, let's fuck against the, like, whoa, let's fucking lick my ass, or let's fucking anal, and I'll flip you around, slap my face, or, you know, I'm going to fucking slap you, you know.
Yeah, you are a little bit kinky from experience.
Yeah.
You get caught up in the moment sometimes, but it's not just you. Like, a lot of clients will get caught up in the moment and maybe do things. Like, I talk on the show all the time about how I try to convert my clients to, like, getting fingered up the asshole. And, like, in the moment, a lot of these guys will just do things that maybe they wouldn't have done otherwise, because exactly what you were saying, you're in this, like, euphoric kind of like a trance almost, and you're just like, yes, oh my God, there's so many things going on that, yeah, you'll be willing to kind of sometimes try things, especially when you're with a provider as well. Like, especially some providers get very theatrical, and you just get, you literally get, like, hypnotized almost, I think.
I think as well, it's a mark of an excellent escort or a service provider as well, where you make the client feel like, kind of like, it's exactly, you are their girlfriend, you are their sort of boyfriend in a sense. And if you make them feel comfortable, whether it's going to be someone that's been seeing an escort for, you know, the 15 millionth time or the first time, you know, they will pick up on their body language as well and just kind of go with the flow. I hate sort of, you know, having stories about saying, oh, you know, I hear stories about punters will say, right, do this, do that, or maybe can you do this? Well, I think it's the communication beforehand and during the, like, hey, if you want something to happen, ask. Don't just kind of sit there and go, oh, why isn't Kat doing this? Why isn't doing that? I think it's, you know, again, if you are a mark of a really high class escort, you'll pick up on these things and kind of almost without the client knowing, hey, try this, and eventually it will happen naturally.
I couldn't agree more.
You mentioned a good escort will give you those experience, like almost like feeling as if you're like the boyfriend, right? So on that note, what I guess like what benefits do you think you find other than, because I think when a lot of people hear escorts, like, okay, it's very pleasurable sex. You said you get to act out some fantasies, you get to be with girls that you've seen in porn and things like this. What else do you get out of this experience other than just purely the pleasure? If you can just talk to that a little bit.
I think it's just kind of having someone that's completely unrelated to your personal life. I know sometimes very, very, very rarely that the relationships might happen because of being a client, but I think it's just, you can kind of talk to that escort regarding that anything, regardless of what's happening in your personal life. I've just got a new dog, or I've got a new job, or I'm going on a holiday, or I'm having trouble with this. I think it's just kind of having that someone that is disconnected from your personal life and to someone to go to, almost like a counselor. I hear so many stories about, sometimes guys don't even pay for the sex. They just pay for your time. And I think that's what I sometimes enjoy the most as well, because I love talking about what I've been doing or the girls that I've been seeing. And again, generally speaking, you get the feeling that they actually care, and they will care, and you develop this kind of bond. And so the next time you go back to them, it feels like you're long lost friends. I think that's sometimes why people will go back to an escort, because again, they enjoyed their company. They don't feel like they're trash. You're actually remembered. And again, Kat, obviously, it's just very welcoming. And again, yeah, sure, there's the sex part of it. Boom, boom, done. Hopefully, it can last a bit longer, but afterwards, I love chatting afterwards. It's kind of like, I love kind of sitting down and just not talking about my performance, but talking about just in general, hey, what's your life like? What have you been doing? Where are you going on tour? Just generally speaking about things that you might not kind of find out online, but just like the behind the scenes, like tour almost.
Okay, that's cool. So like so a chance to basically speak to someone that is there to actually listen and care about what you have to say.
Exactly.
To be able to like let things off your chest, and then also like find out more about like her as well, essentially. So, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. I also have, sorry, go on, Kat.
Oh no!
I've got 1,000
no,
questions. I'm so sorry, but you.
I know. I do. So do I as well. Oh my goodness! I know this might go a little bit over an hour, but there's a lot of questions. Okay, go. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, you seem very open and almost like I get a sense of like almost like pride about like these experiences that you've had and that you're sharing. I'm curious, have you ever felt shame around this? Like, the first time you said you went out of curiosity and it was like maybe a bit awkward the first time, but did you ever have any shame or anything that you had to get over?
Like, I don't feel shame at all. Like now, I think a lot of people, sometimes my friends will, know that I kind of love a bit of escorts or strippers or whatnot. Like they kind of know. It's not something that I would blurt out and say, right, I'm proud, of being it. It's just normally, it's part of me. I'm not going to say that I'm going to pay for sex for the rest of my life. I don't really care. I don't think it should be a shame. It's kind of like it's kind of the same thing where if you go to an expensive hairdresser, or if you go to an expensive PT or an expensive service, it doesn't matter if it's professional or anything. You paying for that service because you get value, and so I think that you should not have any shame whatsoever. So even any listeners, might be scared to go an escort, just go for it. Doesn't really matter. You don't really have to tell anybody. Just live out your fantasy. Let's go. Jump online. There's so many different resources that you can kind of look up people's feedback. You can go into Scarlet Blue under most escorts, providers. You can kind of see past people that might left any feedback. But yeah, man, I don't really have any shame. Like, people will know, who you are. And if they truly value your friendship, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you go an escort, and you just laugh it off. But it's not something that I'll kind of blurt out and tell the world and like advertise I see escort every day. It's more some private life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because like there is a stigma, I guess, around it, like around being a client. But I'm curious, like, do you talk to any of your friends about it? Like, is this a thing guys talk about, or is it something that guys keep secret, or do you refer girls to each other? I've heard stories of like guys referring girls to their friends that were really good. Like, I don't know, is that a thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't say in my close network. Sometimes I'd sort of joke about it, like, if we're on the drinks or out and partying, I might kind of let some. Oh yeah, I kind of I went and saw an escort, right, and they'll all laugh and oh yeah, that's I was going to say my nickname, but yeah, that's my nickname really. But yeah, I talk to my friends sort of about it sort of all the time, but again, I wouldn't say like, oh, hey, you go to see this person. If it's going to be client based, sometimes I get really close with a particular client and say, hey, they might want to have some alone time. And so, especially when I was living in Dubai, obviously that's the sex industry here, it's illegal. But, when in the position that I was able to kind of say, hey, contact this number, right? Because I knew that was something that I can refer to that client to and actually have that good service. But in between friends, we joke about it, but it's not like, hey, you go to this place or you go to this place. It's more like strip clubs, but definitely when it comes to sex, it's a bit more personal, but we joke about it every now and then.
And if
interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I thought guys would probably. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a girl, so I have no idea like what guys talk about.
Yeah, I guess it
we talk about. Sorry,
I was going to say it would just depend. I think if everyone's on that same level. Like I'm sure if you had a friend that came to you and said, hey, by the way, this massage place is amazing, and like I go to this escort service or this escort in particular, if they were open with it, I think you'd probably be super open with it too. But I guess it's tough knowing who's in that basket.
Well, I think again, exactly. It's basically, if we're on the same wavelength, if we're on party and whatnot, and you can read between the lines when I say party, like we're on a bucks party as well. Oh, hey, let's get some girls over, right? Then I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I've got a number, right? So people will kind of know that you might have the contacts in that industry. But again, I would never kind of force on someone or, just automatically make someone feel uncomfortable. If we're on a bucks party or if you're in a party out and you can kind of sense everybody might be thinking the same thing, then obviously blurt it out. Oh, let's get some girls around, or let's get some waitresses around, if that's what, it's called, waitresses in Sydney. Then again, that's something that you can kind of get your friends involved. But yeah, definitely you just want to make sure everybody is on the same vibe, because if they don't, you don't want to make that one person feel uncomfortable.
Fair cool. Yeah. And have you ever tried, have you ever been like a sugar daddy, like seeking arrangements or anything like that? Have you explored side of things?
Yeah, I tried to, but again, you have to really be careful with the whole arrangement sugar daddy, because again, there's so many fakes out there where I'm sure, Kate, you might get propositioned all the time in your line of work, but you say, oh, hey baby, I'll buy you a car, I'll buy you this, buy you that, or I will, give you, allowances. Yeah, I've been on those sites before, but again, that was just kind of like just to see what was out there. I'll take girls out for dinners, but it's hard work, man, because again, girls have been on that site for a reason, and they've been through so many guys. They know all the tricks. And so if you want to be a sugar daddy, it's purely for status, it's purely for ego. And again, it's kind of like it's not really technically that's how seeking arrangement can get around it, because it's not saying, because most of those girls will be there for sex, but it's not specifically marketed. It's all about what happens between individuals. It's up to them, and that's a way around not be calling escorting, because again, sugar daddy is just basically, giving a girl money for that experience, to provide that lifestyle, and what happens between them. But then, I think we're all adults here and we can kind of see between the lines, sugar dadding is vows or some sex or whatnot, but
yeah, no, I'm not really about the sugar daddy vibe either, because it really is just guys looking for a cheap escort. That's pretty much what it is. They want an escort, they just don't want to pay escort rates.
Exactly. And so girls will be out there and will accept it. But like, girls that have been around the block, they know all the tricks, they can see right through it. And so if a guy is sort of watching this and say, right, hey, I'm going to try it, just be prepared, mate, because these girls that you might see, they've been all through it. They've got, thousands. They've probably had 100 guys meshing the same thing. So me personally, I haven't been on that site for about 5 years now, because I know that I won't be able to provide that person's experience or what they're wanting. It's something that I won't really necessarily, unless I get into the status of millionaire status or billionaire status, which hopefully will come soon. But again, that's something that's not really for me.
Yeah, because it's like a full-blown relationship. But yeah, look, I could talk about the sugar daddying stuff. It is, yeah, I know, and if for like half the amount of money, like not even like a quarter of the amount of money. But speaking of relationships and stuff, have you ever had feelings for an escort, or would you date a sex worker?
Like, I haven't really had feelings for it. Like, sometimes, again, I always, maybe when I was a bit younger, but then now I know that industry. I know how it all works. I know it's fake. I know that I wouldn't be able to, like, necessarily hypothetically say, right, I want to go out with Kat, because it's kind of like you see me as a client now. If it was the other way around, and hypothetically, if I met you at a club, I didn't know you if you're an escort, right? And we developed feelings and we got into a relationship. Then you told me you're an escort. I might be okay with it, because I know that that's your job. You don't really have that emotional attachment to it as well. But I know not to really get attached, because it's fake. It's not really something that you can get. Some people will be very, very strong. You might have some stalkers there, Kat, and say, right, oh my God, I love her. I want to be with her. But I know that's not right. It's not healthy. I know not to kind of really get too much attached unless you really discuss that with that person. And hey, I know some escorts have actually got relationships, and when they're seeing a client, hey, that's how the world works. You might find a client that, hey, he's well mannered, I want to get involved with him. But for me, I just kind of treat it as business and pleasure and two different things. And if I want to act on one of them, then I keep it completely separate. It's kind of like, tax time, right? Personal and business expenses, keep it separated. It's kind of sex, right? Your business and personal.
That's gold.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty healthy approach, I think. I like that. So when it comes to seeing escorts then, how often would you repeat and see like the same escort again? Or do you prefer the variety and like seeing different people?
Oh, look, like for example, in Kat's case, I kind of knew, well, the reason pretty much I kind of booked the second time in the first place is that, again, I won't go too much in detail of how the booking was easy, but me and Kat will know what I'm talking about. It was just so easy, deposit done, boom. It was so easy. And so for me, I know now that if I was to see Kat again, it's just going to be one text. And if I'm going to book it, done, I'll see her in about half an hour, however long. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question a bit more sort of thoroughly is that if I've been with that particular person before, yes, I kind of have that in the back of the mind and I'll save their sort of number so it will come up again. Mm-hmm. But I like variety. Sometimes it's, it's always kind of nice to see different people. But Sydney's got it. I'm not quite sure if you've seen it, Scarlet Blue these days. There's literally hundreds of people. And so it's kind of impossible unless you want to go out on a routing mission to go see every single person. But there might be a circle of girls where you might not rotate, but you can kind of see, right, I've seen that person. Oh, I might go to that person now. Oh, I might go to that person now. So there might be repeats, but yeah, it just really depends. Hey, I'm up for Asian. It's kind of like picking for dinner. I'm up for Asian. I want Italian. I want French. I want this. I want that. I want short, fat, skinny, big boobs, art. It really depends.
Yeah, I'm curious, just going into that a little bit more. Is there any deal breakers or anything specific that you look for when you're picking someone? Like, for instance, like I know a big debate in the escort world is whether or not you should have a website or a well-written bio or selfies up. Like, just little things like that. Is there any deal breakers or specific things that you will look for? Or even just professional photos or something like that? or price range? I don't know.
Yeah, and again, it just really depends on, again, this is from, the girl's point of view as well. It really depends on, I know that you'll get a lot more traction if you see your actual face, but I know a lot of girls out there are very, very private. So again, that's absolutely fine.
Do you only go for face out providers, or will you see someone that doesn't show face?
Like I would prefer, because then you can kind of see what, sometimes I've had situations where it's a bit of a catfish. But these days now, got some story. If we had 3 hours, you will hear some pretty ringers. But
we can circle back to some of those stories.
Yeah, well, you might have, I know I won't name the agency, but I remember I was going on a holiday and I saw this beautiful blonde. I used to be into, that Eastern European look, beautiful tits, the whole 9 yards, 10 out of 10 in my eyes. And then all of a sudden, it's the old classic bait and switch tactic. You expect that girl, but then when they knock on the door, it's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, what? And you're kind of compelled to see that person because that girl has out of the way. But again, I'm very, very open to say, no, fuck off. That's not the person that I want to see. And, and agencies will be aware of that. So now I think it's really good. I know that Adult Awards has an award for photo authenticity, and I think that's really, really important to have content that is really relative to your personality. If you feel like you're going to say, right, you provide porn star experiences, or you have this, just make sure that you actually show that in your profile. I know that kind of is a bit kind of an open-ended one, but
will you research like a provider's social medias and stuff first?
Oh, I think it's always natural. I think every single
Oh, it's really not. It's really not. Like sometimes I still get people who think I'm not real, and I'm like, I literally have like thousands of hours of videos of myself on YouTube. How could I not? Like, I couldn't be any more real. But you still get the people that think that I'm not real, and I'm like, I literally couldn't be more real. I have more content online than probably any other provider in Australia, and people still think I'm not real because they just don't look.
Yeah, well, hey guys, anybody out there, Kat's real. By the way, she's real. She's got a mouth as a fucking hell. Yeah, man. Like I've got stitches on my fucking cock because I nearly broke off. Anyway, no, but like, but I think it's all about, linking to your personal, profile. Well, when I say personal profiles, you might have on your Scarlet Blue profile, my Twitter or whatnot, and just try be, obviously, without giving away too much of your personal self, just try and provide as much context. Hey, link in bio OnlyFans, link in bio Twitter, having most content out there, or having a private website. I think private websites are good because obviously that's your personal website. It's completely separate to Scarlet Blue. You've made it, you spent the money, the content on it as well. But you'll always get people that will think you're fake. You'll get punters out there, and you will not stop that. I think it's just,
Yeah, but I feel like that's their own fault. Like a lot of these people, are the ones that are saying I'm fake. They've clearly not read my profile, because with like 3 clicks into my links and stuff, you can very easily tell that, yes, I'm a real person. If they were to go onto my Instagram, they could see me. Like, for instance, I'm in Adelaide right now. Like, 3 clicks, they would see like, oh, okay, she actually is in Adelaide right now. Like, oh, look, this is her story of her doing something in this place that I'm at. So yeah, even looking at my YouTube videos, like you can literally see that I'm real. So I think that it's just that people are just not looking. They're not like doing a thorough research. And then they're like, oh, I've been scammed before. And it's like, well, you probably didn't read anything. That's why you got scammed.
No, exactly. And I think as well, it's so important. I just sent a message, by the way, just in the chat, just FYI. I just think it's very much important as well for punters as well to read the fucking bio, because again, I read so many different girls that are on Insta stories and actually provide, people say, oh, hey babe. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Oh, you available? I'm like, okay. How long for? What service? And I think a lot of people have to read the fucking bio, because you've spent time and effort to to make that profile, all those pictures, all that information. And if somebody can't take the time to spend 5 minutes to read what is exactly on your ad, then fuck them. Like that's not worth their attention. And so if people are watching this as well and saying, "Oh, why is she not responding? She's being a bitch." Well, you're being a cunt. Like you're not providing that respect for, respect to that person that's provided the information for a reason. So if you have a question, most likely it will be in your bio.
Oh, 100%. I will stop. Like if I can tell that somebody hasn't read my profile, like if they ask me questions like, how much do you charge? Or even just like, can I see a photo of you? It's like, you clearly have not read anything.
100%.
So what would your advice be then for someone looking for an escort, right? Like what site would you recommend? How would you get them to like vet for the right girl? Do you have any advice for guys that are starting out?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think I'm not like paid by this company as well. I'm just using it from personal experience. Again, Scarlet Blue is just because it's just so widely, known through different sort of channels. I just recommend finding some, like a channel that you feel comfortable with. And again, I would probably recommend Scarlet Blue and then Escort and Babes. But Scarlet Blue just has such more of a better platform of information. When vetting girls as well, try and see if they have I'll say OnlyFans, but if you want to kind of see a bit more action and see what they might like, consider subscribing to their profile. And to see what they're like, and they might have some videos, and then kind of see exactly their profile and see if they provide that porn star experience and whatever. You just have to do your research first. If you feel like you're ashamed about going to it, don't be ashamed. Like the sex industry is real. It is legal in Australia. You pay taxes. And so don't feel like if you're going to an escort, you're doing something illegal. It's quite the opposite. You're helping people make a living. So I just feel like, just don't be ashamed. Just go online, be curious, shop around, and you might have the time of your life.
Well said. And
very good.
I have to go back to this the catfish experience.
So many questions. The what? The catfish. Oh yeah, some of the stories. Without naming names or anything. And why do you think the bad experiences happened as well? Let's also talk about that.
There's two stories.
All right. Because I've had from like the other side of things. I dated a girl who was an escort, and she told me she used to work in an agency where they did that, where essentially they just had like a photo of a
my agency
girl.
used to do that as well.
Yeah.
My agency used to do that too, but it wasn't like fake girls. It was us, but if they wouldn't tell us, so sometimes I would rock up to a booking and they'd be like, "Oh, you're not this girl," and they had actually booked one of the other girls, but they just sent me because I was available but didn't tell them. So that's happened to me like a few times, and and it's very awkward then when I get there and I'm like, "Oh no, sorry, I'm not Chantel or whoever it was."
And also as well, like you can kind of tell, especially it's prevalent on Escort and Babes. Again, I'm not banging on Escort and Babes. Again, I respect every form of platform out there, but you can see on the Asians, again, not kind of singling out, but you can see like all these sort of Asian profiles, and you can kind of see, $200. I'm like, I can guarantee that's not going to be the same person, because again, they love to kind of put up a beautiful kind of picture, but then also as well, there's so many people that are so gullible. Pick that profile, and then and there's a lot of ads will be like, right, you'll get 100% money back if it's, if I'm not real. And I'm like, well, you're not going to say that if it's not going to be real. So,
true.
Yeah, there's plenty of stories I can bloody tell you, mate. But that one was, I literally just said, "No, you're not right." And then the agency called me up and said, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, that is definitely not the person. I didn't take the picture, but this person had brunette hair in the ad. It was platinum blonde. I can understand girls can have hair changes and whatnot, but definitely this girl had I'm not doing any shaming, but this girl was a bit kind of heavier than in the photo. The girl in the photo was skinny. I was going for that kind of look, but when she turned up, I'm like, that is not even close. That is not even close.
Yeah, agencies love doing that.
And then I had And then I had another agency from, I think it was from a different agency actually. And this was more what actually happened was there's a lot of agencies where obviously girls will go back-to-back bookings. You know, they might kind of go on a yacht booking and, you know, obviously there's the alcohol involved, there's the drugs involved, and, you know, and the girl sort of turned up. And, yeah, she was relatively, you know, I didn't really kind of notice anything. And then anyway, you know, I kind of lied back and she was doing a blowjob. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, what's that in her sort of mouth? And it was something coming out of her mouth. And all of a sudden, like I kind of not woke up, but I kind of like put more attention to her. And then she just full on did almost a power chuck on my cock.
No.
Yeah, it was. I was like, fuck off, and she was completely,
that can happen, though. In her defense, like sometimes if was it like a deep throat? Like were you like
no. It wasn't deep throat. It was literally just, you know, going for it. I wasn't like shoving her head down because I know that if your gag reflex is obviously not really that strong, you know, you obviously will probably able to kind of like spew up, but this one here was disgusting. She was gorgeous, but I think she was a bit too drunk. And then I'm like, nah, fuck off. You know, I've not threw her, but like politely pushed her away. You know those Lynx bottles? You know, the body washers?
Yeah.
You know, you don't, yeah. I literally had to tip the entire Lynx bottle on my fucking cock and really scrub it. And,
that's slack. Accidents happen.
Yeah, accidents do happen, but man, when you're on the punter side, it's kind of like, well, I didn't really go back to that agency again. I prefer, you know, the independent escorts.
I think it's one
and
thing.
Look, this is why I always say,
if you're rocking up to a booking fucking drunk and then vomiting.
Yeah, this is why I always say don't drink or do drugs like when working. I always say that I don't, and I always tell everyone that they shouldn't, because like especially when you're drunk, things like that can absolutely happen. Like especially when you're not thinking, or even worse. Like, so I think it's a safety issue. Like if girls are like drinking or whatever at bookings, because how do you know this client? Like the client might take advantage of you without you even realizing.
Exactly.
If you've obviously not fully with it, they might steal from you. Like I've heard plenty of stories from girls where, well, on both sides, where clients have gotten drunk and girls have stolen from them, or when girls have gotten drunk and clients have stolen from them. So yeah, it can be dangerous for both parties if you're not like fully with it, I think.
No, exactly, but definitely it comes to the you know what you like from now on. Like I'll second guess if I was to go to that agency, because I know that agency and it's very, very prevalent in New South Wales, but I'll never go back to that one because I know that kind of experience that I had. Well, it was definitely not a catfish because it was exactly what the profile matched up to be. But I think as well, you just have to realise that if you're going to back-to-back bookings as well. Just make sure, like, before you go to the booking, make sure you tidy up yourself and kind of, you know, just be refreshed, because sometimes as well it can be a bit of an ick that a girl will turn up and, you know, you might not realise that might be drunk, but it's just your presentation all comes back to that kind of like what you see them. Like if you see that this girl rocking up and she's drunk, then obviously you might have sex with them, but the experience is not going to be that great. So it's always natural is always the best. You know, like you said, no drugs, no alcohol involved, because that's just raw talent. It's raw, like, you know, what your experience is exactly what you're going to get.
And
I agree.
This is one question I have, which is, you said you get you essentially maybe see an escort like once a month, right? Which isn't that often, right? I was expecting a little bit more. But have you ever worried that this will become like a bit of an expensive habit or a bit of an addiction? Like, how do you stop yourself from only doing it once a month, or not like booking like a lot more hours overnights than you wanted to? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, it is definitely something that I am not. When I say battling, it's not like it is. Well, when I say, I don't like to call it addiction, but it kind of is. You just have to say bank statement, and if I say bank statement to myself, I'll look at my bank account. I'm like, fuck me, I don't really have enough money to kind of pay for that. Then I'm like, well, that's why I'll try to really. It's all you can't really. People can't make say, right, don't go on an escort, right? You'll probably do the complete opposite. You are your own boss. Like, you're the only person that can stop it. Because I know that, I've been through money problems before. I've been through that. And I know what it's like to be on the bones of your ass and kind of living from paycheck to paycheck. I'm not saying that I'm completely comfortable now, but like, it is an expensive habit, but you just have to be true to yourself. Just look in your bank account. And if you cannot pay cash, or if you cannot afford it, then just don't like borrow money. Don't like get loans. Don't get credit cards and whatnot. If you're going to get a credit card, and if they accept credit cards, yeah, but pay that straight back. You just have to be truthful and not kind of just say, right, I have to go. I just say now, if it could be anything. It could be like an expensive like shoe, or it could be drugs. It could be anything. I just look at my phone or in my head, and if I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go to a massage, I'll say bank statement. Fuck, nah, I can't do it because I can't literally physically can't get the money out from anywhere. So that sort of stops me from going overboard.
Sounds good. Kat, do you have any other questions?
I do. I guess my last one, just before we wrap up, is, has your tastes and preferences in escorts, has it changed over time since you first started doing it? Because I know a few of my clients have said that at first they go for the more PSE, porn star looking girls with the big boobs and the blonde hair, but then kind of go more girlfriendy as they get older. I don't know if that's the same for you, but a few of my clients have told me that they start out extreme and then go more natural.
Like, I used to be into Europeans, like they like Russian look as well, and then obviously into Asians. Like, if it was my personal side, I prefer, obviously the Asian, that Oriental sort of side. But again, it's just basically the mindset. Sometimes as well, you look at a profile, you want the big tits, you want the fucking big, you want everything, you want a real kind of have a experience as well. But it just really depends on how horny you are, or how close, or if you watched porn before, if you look like at a Brazzers scene, or you're looking at one of your favorite porn stars, you might kind of see, oh, look, I feel I want big tits today, and like, you go for it. It evolves every month, or it evolves every day. People will either go to that same person, because again, you might have one cat that you might have a client that will see every week, because that's what they prefer. But for me, it really depends. I can be one side. I can be the whole fake look, when it's silicone breast, the BBL, the whole the blowjob lips, like to go on about. But then obviously it's nice to kind of have that natural look, because I know there's girls out there that haven't had a touch of plastic surgery in their life, but they're the most genuine people. And so it really depends again on the mood, but definitely there's an extreme, and then there's obviously like the low end as well. And so sometimes you want to have a bit of in between.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Mark, did you have any more questions?
No, but thank you for coming on, man. This has been super interesting.
Oh, actually, before we wrap up, do you have, all right, so if anyone is listening to this and they have maybe never been to an escort before, or maybe thinking about it, what advice would you give them? Or what advice would you give to anyone who's just a bit unsure about it? Again,
I think I touched on this earlier on, but if I was to give like some final parting advice for people that are wanting to get, to see what it's like,
or even if they're on the fence. I feel like a lot of guys are probably on the fence, maybe.
Yeah, I would literally say just curious. Like, you never know unless you try, and just sort of go through Scarlet Blue, go for Escort and Babes, and I would actually kind of go on a porn site and just kind of watch a bit of porn. You might already done that before, but then obviously trying to take aspects. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game and you say, I want this tits, I want this face, I want this, I want that. You kind of want to kind of have something in mind and then go for it and just search, because there'll be a girl for everybody, and I can assure you that from experience. There's probably about over 200 or 300 girls even in Sydney alone. That's not Melbourne, Adelaide, and then people in New Zealand. It could be Singapore, it could be anywhere. So don't think it's like it's going to be something you should be ashamed of. It's more like it empowers you to act on your sexual impulses. And it's kind of like, if you're single and, and you get blue balls because obviously, you're not really having sex, hey, this could be a perfect way to kind of express your sexuality and try something new. So again, just be curious. These girls, i.e. Kat and, whoever out there, they are professionals. And I can guarantee you that if you go for, more the higher end, and actually you will get what you're given. It's kind of like, Kat will be like a first class Emirates, right? You'll get a good experience, right? You will get a good experience. But if you go on Shitstar, you're not going to have a good experience.
That's awesome. I love the analogy. Yeah, thank you so much.
I didn't pay him to say any of this, guys. I promise.
No, because he provide no. At Kat's Kat's credit as well. When you go on first class Emirates, you get like a little amenities. Well, she provides. She provides towels, she provides toothpaste, she provides mouthwash, colognes as well. So it's kind of like stepping on a 5-star hotel. So it's great.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah.
Hey, I'll send you the invoice later on.
That's awesome. All right.
God.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been really nice to hear the client side of sex work, right? From being able to like explore your kinks, being able to kind of like vent your emotions and like share an experience with someone in like a comfortable like professional environment, having to have like sexual pleasure that is, I guess, convenient and easy, and there's no drama or worry about it. So yeah, it's nice to hear that side of things, and I really appreciate you coming on and being so open about everything. It's been great, and to hear about the first class experience as well. That's a fun time. So yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And again, I would like to kind of say thank you for allowing me to kind of like, sometimes it's kind of getting this all off your chest, because I want to make sure like I'm a very big advocate, especially in the financial services industry. Escorts and sex workers as well are getting, stigmatized to say, hey, look, you're not real. Like, you are definitely real. And it's definitely something that people should be a bit more kind of welcome to. I know that there's a bit of a dark side to it, but it's a legal profession for a reason. So I think everybody out there treat escorts with respect, and people that are curious, just go for it, because you never know what, experience you might come up with. So thanks, you guys. Really, really appreciate it.
Well said. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Make sure you all like and subscribe. Just getting that in there at the end.